It's our last day. As a teacher, on the last day of school, you always like break all of the processes, but I'll do this instead of opening up the check-in round right away. Here we go. Here's our Menti. And here comes the screen share. Or there it is. All right. And it's our last day of school question. What's a thing you can do now that you couldn't do 10 weeks ago?
Oh, man.
And this one, if you're not sure what to say, remember it's termed generally here. So some people are talking about Andamio, but you don't have to. So if something else really interesting happened in the last 10 weeks, it's a chance to share that too. All right, and we'll get our check-in round going. So as always, thanks for being here at Pioneers. It's our last out of 10 sessions, although I can't wait to launch Pioneers Cohort 2 after we take a few weeks off. And we'll start with a check-in round as always. Feel free to talk about this question on the screen or to respond to something you see here, or just to share with us how you're showing up and how you're feeling. I'll kick it over to Sebastian first.
Yeah, it's incredible. Incredible as part of the Andamio team. It's incredible to be part of a project that bring this kind of initiatives to the people, trying to bring new builders and developers, new people in general to trying to build on top of your own project and share it into the world. It's some kind of anti-capitalist principle of, okay, we have something, I want to share it to the people. Yeah, it's a good feeling. Yeah, thanks, Lau.
Pass it to
Diego.
Hi, everyone. Excited for our last session. Yeah, I think so before the cohort, I was very excited to explore Andamio. I hadn't done it, and now that I have, and I have tested a few things, I think I can explain clearly what are some of the use cases, what are some of the advantages, the benefits, and also, I think it's easier for me to like have a conversation with someone and dream together and say like, hey, these are things you could do, right? When we exchange information in a more horizontal way, and when you own your participation, right? I was just reading a lot now about, AI and job automation, how people feel about this. And I thought, yeah, I feel like we are at that point where we need to own our contributions to the world, right? And port them and keep them and show them to the world. And so with that, I'll pass it on to Newman.
Yeah, I love the idea of owning our contributions to the world. I mean, I think that's been the big magic trick, is that they like, oh, you're not owning your contributions. As a matter of fact, you don't even know what your contribution is. Yeah, I think highlighting that and making sure that people understand that when you're a fan of a team, you are contributing quite a bit If no one shows up in the stadium, then we don't have a team. I know this because I'm a suffering Mets fan, and when they lose, people just don't show up. It's been horrible. But by way of check-in, I did get under the weather. I've been sick the last couple of. It's really just been a week, but it seems like forever. This is the first time that I haven't been able to sleep. Normally, it's like my superpower. I can go to sleep, and but I was up all night. It was horrible. But the shower just got fixed. Harsha and I are building this hackathon that's getting some traction. I thought about this, like what's been really the change, and really the thing that I called out and been wanting to do, and that is to switch over to a data mindset and this whole idea of a headless app where we get the computers talking to each other in the way that they know how, and then that allows us, to be human. So yeah, I'm really stoked. I do feel pretty empowered by the whole thing, and really glad and thankful. I'm going to pass it over to Nori. Oh,
Thanks, Neiman.
Oh, there you go. Now I got you.
I have a double mute. I had to figure out which ones were on. And good to be here for the last cohort of Andamio Pioneers meeting and see what you're all planning to build with the thing. I think the transition of Andamio into a protocol has been pretty exciting, and it's got me thinking about some things. And one of the things I've been playing with recently through some of the things we've done with Andamio is using agent skills as an onboarding and educational tool. And my kind of thesis right now is you can probably add Andamio credentials on the end of that and have the AI help prove that you've completed the onboarding. And I'm really finding it to be a powerful education tool because you can set up the agent skill with the SLTs and all that other kind of stuff. But you can also ask it questions midstream that weren't part of the lesson to say, what do you mean by this? Or how does this relate to this? And it'll happily bring all of its global knowledge into play and help guide things. And then you get back on track and go, okay, let's continue the lesson, and it'll happily follow the script. So I think there's some powerful stuff there that is really interesting. And I'm currently building a administrative onboarding kind of skill with Claude. And on the backside, I've been like really toying with how do we enable that to issue an Andamio credential on the back end. And then using that as kind of a pattern for onboarding and education. It's a new kind of paradigm. It's like platformless. You can do it in Gemini, you can do it in Cloud, you can do it in whatever, as long as you have an AI agent to feed it into. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind is right now. So, but I'm really interested to see how other people are thinking about things. Yeah. Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I don't know who's here. I'll pass it to Tebo. I think I saw him.
Yeah, I'm here. I feel like we are all in the data side of things. I'm also feel like God mode. Like I feel anything I put my mind to and feel like, okay, this is a good next week step, and it's done in a few days. I'm like, oh no. And then you ponder a few days, how do you actually update your priorities and then like planning of what needs to be done next. But it's not all that great. Did go a job interview and failed all tests. I kind of put that down. And it was like a call center, technical IT stuff. I didn't know about ports, like, oh, I need like a network port connection, and the BIOS doesn't tell me if it breaks to shut up, and having all of these like down to earth, but actually people have problems with when they are doing their daily activities. So yeah, it was fun to see what the world has to offer when I come out of this Cardano bubble. But now I feel like I need to spend more time with spending tokens and building stuff. And fortunately, I had experience building a lot of like contributions and seeing how like path of narratives and like ways things come together. So even this kind of like thinking, I think, helps me to also prototype like enterprising thinking into the way we are interacting. And I think all the right things have been covered in even this like Andamio, the way the protocol is designed, and like discussions of API layers, and just, hey, let's connect our data streams. Yes, we have different experience how we set up our agents to help us, because we all have our unique ways how we communicate and understand information. So now this agent, I think, is helping us to scale that even further, like, and connect our understanding. So, but now the meetings are very, very important. And so I don't want to take too much time and get down to where we meet next.
And how about we pass it to Ian?
Yeah.
For the last 10 weeks, I've been also looking into verifiable credentials as an asset class, because I'm among the people who believe that NFTs are not dead, but to make them more useful in the real world, I was really enamored by how we can use them to fight identity theft and for assurance of like decentralized identity, like maybe stuff like when you are freelancing and you want to know, it's a trust issue between the freelancer and the client. So the biggest issue is how we can transfer the value. You have money and may have my expertise, and I figured that you can also use Andamio to clear the escrow when the like when the clients before you start doing the job, the client can lock the money up, and then after you are done, and the client or like the smart contract itself can unlock the money and you get it. And the thing is, with this kind of verifiable credentials, you can always have a reference, or you can say like, I have done a project with Tevo, I have done a project with James, we did this with Diego, we did this, rather than having a LinkedIn or a resume, because we always do interesting things every day, but we don't have a way we can prove it, because sometimes documenting it in the moment cuts the flow. But with such kind of an arrangement, you can have like a wallet full of good or reviews from people that you've worked with. That's the thing that blew my mind.
I love where you're going with that. Good stuff. I'll pass it over to Harsha.
I'm doing good. There's not much from me this week. I was just like trying to learn Java, and recently, like I said, like Cardano was talking in the Java conference, so that was interesting to see. Because I was under the impression Java is a dead language, but hey, I'm doing good overall. I'm excited for the piece of pie. And last week I was trying to figure out what I need to build. And it's so hard to figure out like what exactly you need to build, because like there's not enough information to truly figure it out. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. And I will pass it to Ahmed.
Hi everyone. Not so much from my end as well. So I've been hyped up about the Piece of Pie hackathon as well, and I've been committing my time a lot into building out what I want to do on the hackathon. And yeah, it's been a while since I joined, and I decided to add some time to be here today. So yeah, that's all. Thank you. Who should I pass it to?
I think we got everybody. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thanks. Well, but that's a great segue into announcements. So if anybody has any announcements to share, let me pass it to Harsha and Newman first. You guys want to give a quick update for anybody who hasn't heard about the latest at Piece of Pie?
Yay! So we got without the Cardano Foundation got in touch with us and says, hey, we want to be a part of this. And we negotiated a little bit, and they are sponsoring basically doubling our original reward pool we call pies. We created a whole new pie for those building on Cardano. For instance, if you're using Andamio, you can qualify for this much larger pie. What else? You want to tell them about the other stuff, Harsha?
Just that if you qualify for the Cardano pie, by the end of the day, you get to pitch to Draper Dragon, which is a VC fund. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
And you still have time to join up. Actually, most are here. So unless Sebastian, you want to jump in on it, and Tevo, you still have time. I know that you were thinking about it. The last day to register and to get your first update on X is Sunday at 1200 UTC. Oh, that's right. Tevo says he didn't really want to solo it, so I don't know. Maybe you can join a project. I think you can probably do that after the fact. But anyway, yeah, we're
keeping up with the Discord. We have to get the invite.
It could be. It is a weird God mode kind of time with the agents and whatnot. But it is agent free. You can build whatever you want. It just has to be. There's a few constraints that you can see on the on our rules. We've been updating the FAQ as we go, as people sort of get clarity on what it is, and we do the same. It is an experiment. We're running it the first time. Hopefully, we'll run it again. I've been having a blast. I think Harsha has as well. And it's so Gimbal Labsy. You know, we are building as we go. It is, you know, find a friend and do something meaningful. It is interop. It is, you know, decentralized. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And I think that covers it. What do you think, Harsh? Any other little tidbits for announcement on the hackathon?
No, that should be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, James.
Yeah, and congrats, guys. What a cool breakthrough. And we'll have some time during this session to talk about what everybody wants to do coming out of this program. And if there happens to be overlap with what you want to build or how you want to experiment with Andamio, we'll have a chance to do that today. Maybe even a call for action if people are looking for collaborators on a project. Any other announcements? I see Tevo just put something in the chat. Yeah, beyond MVG, can you give people a quick update on that one?
Today, a few hours ago, we finished another workshop session where we look at the new 2D graph, or actually 3D interactive graph, where we have collecting like recommendations for governance metrics. And yeah, this Saturday, we're going to have a last session where we probably take one more discussion up, look at the results, and then have a retrospective at the end to go through entire this experience that we felt synchronously, asynchronously, and hopefully I get also some team members there to share how internally this felt. But yeah, it doesn't still mean that we are finishing. Then we turn into like and one more month, I think, creating internal reporting to then finish with the new state of governance report for Cardano. So if you want to influence us, Saturday is the time.
Nice. Any other announcements about community meetings or anything else? Yeah, Ian.
I want to share some progress because I've been interested in finding a way where like anything you learn blockchain related can be considered like a real grade in university. For instance, you find some people now from my environment in Kenya, people maybe did a degree in business, but then they come outside of school and they discover, oh, this crypto thing is interesting, and they start doing courses here and there. Then rather than going for postgrad, that should count. So I have like having been interested in creating a roadmap from the resources in Limba Labs, Andamio, the Cardano Foundation, and the IOG YouTube channel, and I came up with a roadmap. So that's what I want to share with you guys. You,
Do you want to share screen?
yeah.
Great.
Cool. Give it a look and open for redirection. Yeah, it is on localhost. So there are 3 paths and like 20 skills you can get from the 3 paths. And you start here in the UTXO because it's the foundation of the chain itself. Then security, OPSEC, wallet security, all that, the consensus mechanism and the governance. And now these 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 five these 4 parts lead to three ways you can branch out: smart contracts, there, co-engineering, and stake pool operation. Here we have AKN, off-chain, is a scale, this like DevOps stuff, and then they converge here. And from there are like 4 parts. We have scaling in L2, scaling still with real. This is ZK, and this is the constitution governance. Yeah. I'm open to
That's really cool, Ian.
suggestions.
Is
Appreciate
that an app you're building? Are you what is that?
we were in a meeting last week with Asha and James and figured the best way to like have kind of a blockchain universities to map out a pathway where if I'm a developer, I'm coming into the ecosystem, I know these are the 3 pathways I can take, and these are the skills I can gain from the pathways.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That visualization is pretty incredible. And I see that Ahmed is looking. Is there a link to it at Tevo as well? Is it live somewhere?
Right now, no, it's on localhost, but I will share
Localhost, buddy.
Hey, one of Newman's love languages is to look at the package JSON file, though. Could you show us that so we know how the graphic interface is built?
Okay.
First, I look at the package JSON. I look under there. I look under the hood. When people show me their new car, I always am like, hey, pop the
Where's
hood.
package JSON for this thing?
Yeah, show me this. Show me what are you packing down in there?
And while you're getting that up, this is related to the feedback work that's also coming out of Gimbal Labs. So my summer project for Gimbal Labs is to think about the systems for feedback. And I was talking to Ian and Harsha last week. And Ian was identifying this need for people to have the high-level view that he's sharing with us. My particular interest in this is looking at how do we know the current state of these educational resources, right? If I can look at Ian's map, that gives me the full picture of what might be out there. But what about the qualitative dimension? How recently was the course updated? Can I trust that it's up to date? That kind of thing.
Ooh, and that seems like that could be pretty that could be automated in a way.
Right. Hey, try this learning pathway, and if you see something that's stale, report it, right? The people that are most likely to find discrepancies are the ones who are actually trying to learn.
Right. They're all, yeah, exactly. That's that whole feedback. It's just like, look, those are the people with the valuable experience. And then they can, that becomes a currency when they give it to you, when they exchange it. That's a great way of thinking about it.
And the Go PBL course should be part of this map. Right. So that's an example that we're adding to the collection right now. But what are you using for that graphic interface? Is that the XY flow?
Yeah, React Flow.
Okay. That's cool. That all looks pretty. Google Gen AI. That's interesting. What's that one? That's just your Gemini, I guess.
Yeah.
The 14, yeah. 914.
Gemini.
And so React Flow does all the dirty work of giving you a canvas where you can drag items around, but then each individual item is itself a React component, and you can use everything you already know to style those and put some functionality inside.
What's 18? D-A-G-R-E, degree. What is that? 18, I wonder. Does anyone know that one? But no, that's cool, and it's neat. And then Lucid. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks. What is it's easy, makes it easy to lay out directed graphs on the client side is what it says. 1.8 million downloads.
Ooh. Wow.
So graphical stuff. I'm going to jump back into the screen share over here. So there's two things on our agenda today. One is to close out and reflect on what we've done and haven't done so far. And the other is to make some commitments for following up from Pioneers now that we're winding down these weekly live sessions. So the first thing I want to do is actually go back to self-assessment for just a moment. And we didn't really do a quick run of the module 103 learning targets. We just kind of started jumping in and learning through experience. So there's 6 learning targets. I want to leave each of these up for just a moment, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And so just read the learning target and give your just initial reaction about where you stand right now. From 0, I'm completely lost and I have no ideas, up to feeling really confident enough to teach it to somebody else. But how are we doing here in session 10? I can explain what the Andamio app template provides and when to fork it versus building from scratch. And yeah, if everybody's a 0, that's just good to know. So be honest here. This is what we're trying to figure out right now.
I realized, I think I joined at the first session and somebody said this is the last one. I don't know if it's actually the real case, but that's why I'm there to zero there, because I'm sorry, I saw that, but it didn't cross my mind that I need it right now.
I know it's hard to believe. I can assure you, Tavo, 2.5 months did just pass. It happened, but we've all been going so fast. We've got everybody, nobody's at 2. Can somebody just flatten out this tabletop? We got a full spread. All right, so kind of what I expected. We touched this a little bit early on. We had a few live demos of the app template, but it makes sense that we're a little bit all over the map right now. And this helps me inform what kind of follow-up we want to start to post so people can catch up with this asynchronously. Next one. I can use it, right? So now it's not about understanding whether to fork it, but if you just want to start building, do you know where to go to find the app template so you can fork it, clone it, and then do you know how to configure it and run it locally based on what we've done in the last 10 weeks?
When was the app template updated? Have you updated it recently?
The last update was probably 2 weeks ago, and it's due for a few more updates. I can share just in the AI workflow reporting and that kind of thing. What we're really trying to do is automate the system for keeping that thing up. So Jingles has done some really interesting work building a tool he calls Agency. And it runs in the background and allows you to dispatch agents directly from a Git project board. And I want to get to that point with template. I might be able to give a little preview of that today, but that's something I definitely want to share asynchronously so people understand that as you use the template, if you see bugs, we can start to really have a nice automated process there. But look for another update to that by the end of the day tomorrow. I have a few things locally that I just want to test before pushing them up. All right, so we're in the upper half. People are getting there. We made some progress, and certainly want to publish even better resources. You've seen in the documentation that we do have a getting started guide. Ian and Newman demonstrated to us how to get going on that. And maybe we can grab even those videos to make that easier to find for people who are seeing this for the first time. Next one. How about from the template, or if you started playing with Andamio Dev, this one's expanded a little bit. Can you invoke agent skills using / commands in the harness of your choice?
In a way, I feel this.
It was really nice to see some firsthand progress in this one. And thanks to everybody who played with the different ways of getting this running.
Yeah, that even though it felt a little bit like a detour from, like, for instance, right now I'm like, oh, I should have been at the app template, because that's sort of where I started. But I did take a little side trip into the skills, and it is what it is. Yeah. I think it's pretty valuable. I definitely feel much more comfortable with the skills and knowing what they're doing, just how they're interacting a little bit more. And more comfortable using them.
That's awesome.
And it'll work, and those skills are in the app template. That's where I was headed to look and see exactly what's in the app template.
There's a difference. Yeah, but the idea is the same.
Yeah, because I worked more, I guess the second half I worked more with Andamio Dev and not necessarily the app template. So I want to go back to the app template, because that might be more where I'm at if I want to build a course or make a credential, like a project. Yeah. Does that check out? So was the app template for people? Well, we're doing the skills check, but I have some questions about how they all fit together. I guess that's my...
Totally. And I think this is a great chance for us to go through those questions as they come up. But yeah, the app template, I think it has a lot of room to grow. Really, it's just a fork of the Andamio app itself with some function ripped out, but I don't think it's curated enough to be helpful to a general audience yet. And so an example of this, right? If you're mostly just curious in publishing a course, maybe some of the project stuff in the template is distracting and doesn't actually help you achieve what you want to achieve.
Right.
And in the meantime, the what was it, Astro we used for the Cardano Go project,
Yep.
that might be a better template than the template is at this time, especially if you just want to publish a course in a custom user interface. So we kind of need to map out those resources. And then even the XP project, which is open source, that might be a good template for somebody who just has one course and one project, but doesn't want the rest of the content navigation in Andamio. So we have a few different options. And I think one of the immediate follow-up steps here is to kind of make a list of what's available and even have a status dashboard. Hey, if you just want to grab on like everything Andamio can do and play with it, the template is the right place. If you want to just build a course, maybe try this Cardano Go repo, pull it down and make it your own. And then if you want a course and a project working together, maybe XP becomes the canonical example for that.
It is now.
All right. And yeah, if anybody wants to build that map of content, that would be an interesting community resource.
Yeah.
All right. How about this? Oh, go ahead.
Yep. Well, just to say that all of a sudden I see that right as on that skills roadmap that Ian is working on. You know, it fits in there because it's like, look, here are your templating or example files, and then you could branch off of those and say these are the skills. Like for instance, one is built with Astro, the other one is built with React. What's Cardano XP built with?
That is like a pretty much straight fork of the template.
Okay.
It had all of the project and course navigation removed from it, right? So nobody needs to see the whole list of all the courses on Andamio.
I see.
Focused on that one thing.
So you went from the template down, so you took it and stripped out, and then from the Go course, you went from the bottom up. You took it and just breathed. I see where you're going. Okay, cool.
In music production, I applied a filter, right? And this is called subtractive synthesis. I took a big signal and I ripped out a lot until it had a much clearer, unified thing going on.
All right. Well,
that's a detail. All right, how about this one? Can I use the getting started skill? And this one's very specific to the template. This is kind of a binary, just checking if people had a chance to play with it. But do you think you know how to use the getting started skill just to customize the colors in the app and see it becoming your own?
Yeah.
I like how the two ends went up at the same moment. Field goal. This skill, for anybody who is new to the agent skills, this getting started skill was built for you. Okay, so if you haven't really used Andamio template before, if you're just starting to get comfortable with agent workflows, or if you haven't really used skills yet, the getting started skill is there to kind of hold your hand and guide you through it. So I can show you where to find that after we start this, or after we're done with this assessment. But yeah, a few people have some experience, a few people not yet. That makes sense. How about, given all of the skills there are, can you find the one you need? Can you identify which embedded skill to use depending on what you're trying to accomplish?
You know, it's so easy to ask the agent and they're clear about, okay, I'm using this skill. So yeah, I feel, not to give away an answer or anything.
Newman's going to have like a 4. I was going to say 3 or 4. And finally, I know how to log issues, feature requests, and requests for new skills in the templates GitHub repo. Would you be able to figure this one out? I would say as long as you can do this one, you're ready to keep going. So I like seeing the 4s and 5s here. Okay. So let's do a quick review of what's available. And if you have questions coming out of any of these, we can jump into that. All right. I'm actually going to share I want to open up a tab in a guest profile where I'm not logged into Andamio GitHub. So you can see what the public view looks like. Give me 1 second here. Okay.
I mean, there was this question about UI and UX. What I I'm always confused about, and I think I need a skill or some kind of process for that, is how can AI agent not able to take the repo and say, I want exactly the same design, same way it's done, the collapsing, formatting, and it just doesn't do it. It's like start from scratch. Like, it's a copy paste. Goddamn.
Yeah, right.
That makes sense. This is the public Andamio GitHub, and here's the list of repositories. You can, I think the easiest one to bookmark is just this page right here. But what do we see at the top of the list? Here is the app template that we were just talking about. We'll jump into there in just a sec. Here's somebody just showed up. Here's Andamio CLI, which is a tool that's available, and we're going to touch on this one. And then here's the Andamio dev that Newman was just talking about. And everything else that's open, feel free to play around. You can take a look here. All of the audited contracts are down below, Plumline, Access Token, and then some deprecated stuff that we were building on in the past, and we've just made it available. But let's look at the template first. So this one, as you've seen, it has a .skills directory. It does not have a .claude directory, nothing specific to Claude here, right? And so if I go down here, I won't see a Claude MD file. I only see agents.md. This shows any agent what's here in terms of project structure and all of the available skills. These are the skills that are the answer to SLT 102.5, right? What's available and when should you use them? But as Newman already pointed out, if you open up any agent in this repo, right, simply by cloning this repo directly and opening it up in any harness, you can ask it questions. And because it loads agents.md into context right away, it's going to be able to answer your questions or route to further help in these skills. Any questions about that? Okay.
So I think that's I mean, that's just how it's built. Can you imagine any repo in the future that doesn't have, that's not like agent aware? It seems like that's been a big learning an SLT for me. It's just that, yeah, if you plan on using the technology is sort of now in the agent thing, and it's somehow it's quick on the uptake because it's so the user friendliness that has always stymied this type of development now is kind of off of the way. There are problems with it, obviously, but yeah, I really like that we're patterning this whole skills protocol. Yeah. Just as a point.
This makes me think about what Nori was sharing in terms of using skills like these as an onboarding mechanism, right? And if you think about what did exist before this was documentation, right? And what does documentation do? Well, if it's written well, it precisely tells you how to use the system. But often it's that very precise description of the system that is its own filtering mechanism against devs, right? Because if you're understanding the way people wrote it and precisely defined it, you're great. You're going to love those docs. You're going to start building on that tool, right? but still a lot of people, documentation is not enough because it doesn't answer your questions, right? I can't interact with it directly. And that's why there's a cottage industry of YouTubers who read documentation and then translate them into human language, right? Like that's, for many of us, that's how we learn how to use tools, even though the answers are all there in the docs. And maybe this kind of democratizes docs by making them more accessible, right? But if you like the idea that Nori is sharing, start to imagine, okay, well, this getting started guide, what if this had some learning targets in it? It doesn't yet, but it could. This could be like a course, right? And you can see it's a script. Not every skill has to be an interview, but internally to Andamio, we've started classifying different skills. Some of them are interview based and other are more kind of just general purpose. This one, you can see it's an interview. What should the agent do? It should welcome you. It should check that the dev server is running. Show people where the theme file is, right? So this is a really nice kind of hold your hand one step at a time. And that's why I think this is the right name for the skill. Versus something else, let's contrast that with another one like the task lifecycle, right? This is a very specific skill that defines how Andamio works so that if you hit a blocker or the agent isn't sure what it should do next, it can review this skill to make sure it understands that, right? Do you understand the state machine? I can imagine a learning target for that. So these are available. And this pattern is duplicated in other repos. So let me go up a level now, back to the repository list. We were just looking at Andamio app template, but let's look at Andamio dev for just a minute. We spent some time with this during weeks 8 and 9. Newman gave us a short update on how he integrated this with Codex, and there's a PR. It's time for me to merge this. I'm sorry that I haven't gotten to that yet, but I'll pull that in today. This one, it also has a skills directory and an agents file, but in addition, it has a Claude file running beside that to help as your instructional coach. I'm not going to go back into that in detail right now, but notice that the pattern is the same, right? So some of these, like start, this one will onboard you step by step. And this one was written after the template one, so it should feel a little bit more refined. Like this one, we hand wrote the welcome message instead of having like an agent generate it every time, right? I just put this to the screen, right? Detect the auth. Now detect the auth in what? CLI. Okay, so this is the biggest way that Andamio Dev diverges from the template. The template is just saying, hey, here's a Next.js application that has the API plugged into it. Try to use it. This one is more general. Andamio Dev doesn't assume you want to build anything in particular. It's meant to be a general purpose tool to help you start building anything. Okay. Does that distinction make sense?
Oh, wait, say it again. Wait a minute. The dev is just a general.
Yeah. So the template comes with, let's go to the package JSON, right? It comes with a Next.js project with a bunch of standard UI dependencies. It comes with mesh installed. It comes with a whole bunch of icons. It comes with the TipTap editor and Tailwind typography, right? All of this UX stuff that you could choose different options, that's fine. And what is it all wrapped in? It's wrapped in a Next.js project, which means it has React and everything that goes with that, right? So all of the skills in the app template are going to be related to that. Hey, here's a rough UX template that you can use. And the reason we're giving it to you is so you can go wild, just changing the appearance of everything, right? Change the pages, change the components, change the colors, change the text, da 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 da, right? But it's giving you plumbing that you're already started from.
Okay.
And
And then,
big alternative to dev. Does dev even have a package JSON? It does. All right. But all it is, yeah, it's just, this is the only reason this package JSON is here is so that we can eventually publish this package on different agent skills distribution networks. And that's why you see words, but you're not seeing the same dependencies as elsewhere.
right. Okay.
And
So
what's
it doesn't, but it will spit out a course though. So it is, what does it build that, what is the UI of that course?
excellent question. Okay, so when you build a course, what are you doing? Now let's go to your point about thinking in API and data flows.
Right.
Right? If I build a course, maybe I build a course with Andamio CLI directly. Right? So let me go up a level from here as we keep thinking about dev. That's one of the other open repos. And you can just install this. This is ready to go. There's a release version right here. You can also pull down the code and build it if you want to. Okay. But what does Andamio CLI do? It does everything the app does. It can mint an access token. It can authenticate you with that access token. You can create a new course. You can create course modules. And when you do that, that content will be visible in the Andamio app. But the reason it's visible there is just because the Andamio app is built on top of the API, just like any other app could be. Right? So putting content on the Andamio network is just a way of making it available then to anybody who's now building apps on Andamio on top of that.
Okay.
Okay. This one does have skills, but they're really about development of this tool.
Right.
And this, we're going to make this part of the Intersect Maintainer Retainer program and open this up for contributions. More importantly, right now, in the immediate term, Andamio Dev knows about Andamio CLI. Look, I'm in Andamio Dev. I clicked into the reference directory, and there's a one-pager here, Andamio CLI context. What does this do? This makes your agent aware of Andamio CLI and everything it can do. Okay, so if you really want to do experiments, not even thinking about a web-based UI, but you want to do a new class of experiences, thinking about the agent harness as the primary interface, you download Andamio CLI, and you open up this Andamio dev repo with this context file. And now you will have an agent that knows how to use Andamio.
Right, and that's baked in. You don't have to change. You don't have to change anything. You just open up Andamio Dev, and it'll, you'll. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious if you wanted to build something that's not a course or project, like maybe a one-off credentialing builder or something a little bit out of the rails. Andamio Dev would know how to do that, I think. Maybe.
Exactly. That's the goal of the skills. And if it gets confused, tell me right away. Because that's what I really want to know, right? This repo should be able to solve any Andamio related problem. Can it yet? Probably not, right? But we got to find where those edges are and just keep refining it. But it's because of docs like this one, right? What you really need is the succinct, machine-readable description of what a tool like this does. Hey, Diego, what do you think?
Let me bring the perspective of someone who's not in the code, right? Building. And I'm really as soon as we looked at this page, I remember some of the comments on Reddit about Cardano XP and you know the hacks that happened last week, this week, etc., and other networks. The way you're selling this to me, in some ways, is like, hey, all these context files and skills are going to help you build something that works with the API, so you don't have to worry about security, reliability, and so on, because the API is providing that for you. And as long as you build a UI, UX, anything that makes sense to your users, you should be fine. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, that's the goal here in Pioneers, is to give people access to those APIs and start the process of people building stuff.
And this
You
idea,
cannot guarantee its smart contract is secure, or does, because Andamio is general, but well, you have protocol layer like requirements, but it's not smart contract puller, or is it?
All of the APIs are an abstraction layer on top of the on-chain smart contracts, which allows people to not think about the on-chain smart contracts.
and based on that Reddit, on those Reddit, like Diego is talking about, those based on those Reddit posts, like did more of that trickle down, and were people accepting of the fact that, hey, look, this is a good way to build, or were they satisfied that security was tight enough for mainnet stuff?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, we're not there yet.
Yeah, I think that the story needs a few tweaks for people to feel safe and, you know, trust and so on. But I just really wanted to understand, like, how do you put all these repos together for someone who is going to build on top of Andamio, right? Like, you're basically saying we're building all the context and the skills so that you don't have to think about the very small pieces. You need to understand the structure in general. You need to understand learning targets. You need to understand contribution. You need to understand the things that you can build on top of it in general. And you can use the skills and the context files to like figure it out as you go, right?
This is the way that I would, because metaphors are good. If you don't like metaphors, just earmuffs for a second. You know, it's like building a house, or building a house is what I was thinking of. And you know, when I'm working on stuff, if I'm going to regrout my bathroom, I don't really particularly care, because the grout is messed up, or if something, you know, doesn't work, maybe the tile falls out, it's not a big problem. But electricity, I know that if you don't do the electricity right, you can burn your house down. And living where I live, you could burn your neighbor's houses down. So I don't mess with electricity. And so the way that I'm thinking about this is a bit like electricity, meaning that if I use these components, I'm not going to burn anything down, or it's a little bit fail safe, meaning that I know that if I get this wire, that's the right wire. And if I use these components, those are the right components. Maybe I can misconfigure the components, but there's a bit of safety already there, because I'm not like, for instance, I'm not going out and getting a copper wire and wrapping some tape around it. I'm getting some Nomex, you know, grade 6 or whatever. I'm getting a UL listed, you know, that these have been certified. James, is that sort of a way to think about it? Can you understand
I love that metaphor?
Or Diego, does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. And I think it would make sense to a lot of people who are not in the space, right?
Because we want to be able to play and have fun. I mean, I guess that's what the pre-prod is for. But eventually, sort of like what our hackathon is about, this is all mainnet stuff. We want to be confident enough to put actual ADA into the system.
Right.
And James, is that, or is anybody, does that sort of make sense? Like, is that what the whole API thing is about? It's just like, look, you can't get too far off and burn something down or create something that's inherently unsafe, because there are at least some safety measures. Meaning, I'm sure there's a way to connect it up wrong, and that the front end is insecure or whatever. But as long as those APIs are you're following, if you followed the instructions. Does that make sense?
I love that. And I think one thing that would help, I think, to not only build trust and increase visibility, etc., but also to show that this is something well thought out, would be to maybe publish a page with like, these are the mistakes you can make, these are the things that you can break, and these are the things that you're not going to break, right? You can write a learning target that makes no sense. You can approve an assignment without reading the assignment.
Right. Or you
can, but you're not gonna break the system by doing so. You're just gonna make a mistake in the attribution of something, right?
And like Web3 users at least are familiar with the distinction between like protocol error and user error. So we can lay that out. And I think that would be a good one pager to provide. Because I think the next step for us is remembering to approach that story from the other side. And here's what I mean, right? We've been focused on the part where we know that it's hard to get people to adopt a set of validators on their own. It's great that you can write a set of validators, and it's great that those don't allow transactions to happen when they shouldn't. That's what Cardano offers. But we know from years of experience now at the ecosystem level, all across Cardano, it's not enough, right? There's not enough people who are going to learn how to build transactions, right? So what does an API need to do? It needs to abstract those transactions away. And that's what we've done. But I think we've insufficiently communicated what's still there and has been there the whole time under the hood, which is that there are these validators that only allow certain things to happen, right? And so, I like that idea of saying, here's what's possible, here's what's not, here's what's safe, but here are the user errors that could still corrupt your system if you want to try to use that. That's really interesting.
Well, you had made that reference to like, there's this whole cottage industry of the YouTube people that can read the instructions or the documentation and explain it. And now that we've got the agents, we just have to be there. That whole cottage industry, that whole group of YouTubers that explain stuff, they just have to do it in a smarter way, or it will adjust. Because the agents can take care of the simple things, maybe. But I think, especially when you're dealing with something that is dangerous, and because that's the whole thing. I mean, I'm of that era when they were like, banking on the internet, absolutely not. I would never put my credit card on the internet. Are you crazy? Do you know what the internet is made up of? Like, it's just like, that's the most unsafe thing I can't even imagine. But now it's we do it 3 or 4 times a day. So it's understanding how things can go wrong, and saying it in a clear way from the user's perspective, from the builder's perspective, or that sort of pro-user's perspective, prosumer or whatever. Then we can have a Precambrian explosion of apps and people sort of saying, hey, look, we can generate and share things. We can get to the promise of Web3.
And that's why Pioneers exists, right? Because no matter what we do internally on the Andamio team, nothing can replace working hand in hand with the first group of interesting interested people, excuse me. But that's why we are here, is because the book is not written yet. And because we recognize that learning how to tell this story is not something we can do alone. So yes, to the public comms, but you should see this session as the first draft of those public comms. And that's why, for example, in the course, let's now jump over to, this is our closing activity for, we got 20 minutes left.
And yeah, and that, I think that wraps it up. Oh, exactly right. That's what Pioneers, exactly what Pioneers do.
Well, and that's what you'll see, right? The course from the very beginning has not had lessons, right? Well, there is one now, but there's barely anything there, right? It's a work in progress that will grow throughout the program. And just because there's so many minutes in a day, we haven't yet updated the text here. We've been just running this cohort, having these meetings, having this initial set of conversations, and think of it like what teachers have to do before school starts. You get together and you plan. You get together and you pressure test what needs to happen. That's what we've been doing here. But now the program is going to end. So what comes next? Well, the last module here, building apps.
Oh, wait, are you sharing your screen? Are you sharing your screen somewhere I can see it?
I thought I was sharing the screen. No, I'm not sharing the right thing. Give me 1 second. Try that. So here's the Pioneers course. Right. And it's been a work in progress. I'm not going to go through everything I just shared on the screen, but the content is still the same, right? This has been a work in progress. This lesson doesn't have anything in it yet, but we've got a repo. We've got these YouTube videos. The only credential that we're really going to use to gate opportunities coming out of this program is number 103. There are modules with credentials for every one of these. What is Andamio? What can I do with it? And building apps. And because of the way Andamio credentials work, anybody who earns one of these will hold it, and anybody else can build a new project that requires people to hold these credentials. But for now, and only for now, for the next few months, this is the one that we're going to use to gate access to new collaborative opportunities, building apps. And we just want to know that you were here, starting to learn about the tools that are here. Some of them are about the Andamio app template. We already saw these on the Menti board. Some of them are more general about agent skills, right? And by using this, hopefully you have enough to, at some point, if you're interested, make a commitment to what you're going to do next. In this program, we've just taken a first look at how to use Andamio. We have covered a lot of ground, and we have to switch gears all the time. We switch from practical things like what's available and how can I figure out how to use it, to big picture things like what's the point of the system and how does the whole thing work, right? We haven't yet had a chance to go deep because all we've done are some 90-minute meetings. Now the meetings are ending, and something really nice happens when you have fewer meetings on your calendar. Hopefully you experience some focus, some maker blocks, some of those impromptu kinds of calls that you could never schedule, but where the real magic happens. That's what we want to facilitate next. And this is what we're going to do for the next few months. Now, it's nice that this aligns with the Piece of Pie Hackathon, with the summer stuff that Gimbal Labs is doing. And if you want to connect the dots between those, it would make a lot of people here really happy if you did. But it doesn't have to be connected, okay? So this is the assignment. Decide what you will build, starting from the Andamio app template, and post a commitment about it, right? Just say what you'll build, what skills you're playing with, pick a date when you intend to have something, and when you're ready, share a fork to your work. Here's a template that you could just copy and paste and replace your details into the Discord. then you can just make a commitment message here that you made this. One of us on the Andamio team will approve and issue this credential. And this is going to give us the raw material to start tracking what pioneers are trying to build. And if you get stuck, we'll help you. If you build something great, we can't wait to tell the world the story about it. But you can imagine after a few months of building and kind of asynchronous collaboration, we're going to have more of an examples gallery, right? And my goal by the next time we do Andamio Pioneers, we haven't set a start date for it yet. But I think it's safe to assume it's not going to be before July. And it's probably even better if we wait till September, okay? In the meantime, let's try to build up a gallery that will serve as a starting point for the next cohort of pioneers, right? So instead of people showing up and us having a half-baked template and an incomplete course, and 6 weeks later, Andamio Dev, let's have, here are some things that people are building with Andamio. And by the way, we've got some of those builders here, some of those cohort 1 pioneers who are ready to take cohort 2 folks along for the journey, right? And the goal is if we deliver on some of the higher profile work we're doing, we want to generate a bunch of interest. So as we're generating interest, now we have a better story to meet people with when they show up and they say, wait, how can I do that too? What can I build? Who can help me? Make sense? Okay.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you do this today or 3 months from now, right? It's all the same. And there's no hurry. There's no deadline on this assignment. But when you're ready to make a commitment and tell us what you're trying to build with these, now the real fun starts. And that's going to take us into the next phase of our work. Any questions about this?
Okay, so you're creating a fork. Creating a fork on the app template?
Yeah, and honestly, if you don't want to use the app template, but you want to just create another app and only have passing reference to the template, that's okay too. All right, so don't feel like you have to use the template for its own sake if you'd prefer to build an Astro, for example.
Right. Yeah. And that, yeah. I mean, you could fork it and then just strip everything down, but that wouldn't make too much sense, I guess.
Could be a good learning experience.
Because I mean, the whole idea of having the fork is that you're going to want to pull it back into you want to fork.
No, not always, right? So a fork is used by teams when the plan is to put in a PR and pull it back in, but it can also just be a permanent forking point where you then build your own thing from there. That's fine.
Okay.
And some people, you know, I've done this. I fork a repo and then I start making changes to it. And then I just remove the fork relationship because I don't want to look at those warning messages anymore.
Right.
No harm, no foul, right? Just make sure you keep the license and don't break any of those rules. But this is a permissive license, so you're good.
Well, I would probably, well, I mean, I could see both, but I might want to fork like Cardano Go, like the other one.
Absolutely.
And that would be cool. Interesting. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to make it work with my piece of pie submission. Yeah.
And that's actually a good sentence starter. You're already making me think of ways I want to update the text that's on my screen right now, right? But in the building part, when you make your public commitment, a sentence that starts with, I want to figure out how to X, Y, and Z, that's a good sentence right there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and that is sort of the pioneer, the pioneer metaphor, like going out across in a company. They used to come in these companies, these old military guys would carry people across, and then at some point, they would all have to like go on their own. They would literally fork the trail, and that sort of feels like what we've got now. And then the whole idea is that we come back and grab the next group and bring them through. Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, this is what I had in mind as far as being a part of a community that does stuff. For sure.
Yes. And thanks for being here during these, it's a big mess. It's a huge hot mess what's available so far, because we just went from constant building mode to this still in progress transition of, okay, now we got to tell the story of it, right? And so
Right.
that's been what we started these last 2.5 weeks, and it's the deep focus of the next few months. So with that in mind, it's time for a closeout round. And what we'll do during this closeout is, if there's anything, you're not putting anything in writing, it's just a video. We are recording it, so we might go back to the tapes later. But what's an informal commitment you could make now as we close out and we launch ourselves into the next few months of async work? I'll kick it to Newman first.
Yeah, I was thinking, because there is something to be said about just having a throwaway project, the 12 logical fallacies. But, I want some more skin in the game. I'm really thinking of something with the hackathon. Either what are hackathons, or how to get ready for maybe to a hackathon participant. Okay, here's a course to help you figure out your hackathon project. Or for the hackathon administrator, here's why you would want to do a hackathon, or somebody interested, hey, my community, should I have a Qigong hackathon, or should I have a poetry club hackathon? And then there would be a course and a project to take you through using the Andamio stuff, make a commitment, have SLTs, do all the things, that type of thing. So I'm thinking of that's off the top of my head what I'm thinking.
And who do you want to pass it to?
Oh, let's pass it to Harsha. Harsha, what are you thinking? Is he's been quiet.
I had an idea until 2 days ago, and then I did my research, and now I have no ideas. But initially I was thinking about credentialing for open source contribution. But the issue I face is that, okay, we'll issue these credentials, and then what? What does it open? And now it's back to oh, now we have a course. Now what contributions what will happen next? Yeah, so that's where I'm at. And I will pass it to Tigo.
Thanks, Arsha. I want to figure out how to bring more people to this, and to realize that there's such a great opportunity to engage in the open source space, or in closed source space that opens up community contribution. So yeah, I have a couple of different ideas, but I don't know that I want to build something very concrete right now. But I have a couple of ideas of how we can bring more people to the space. And I'll pass it on to Nori.
Thanks, Diego. For me, yeah, I'm really leaning into using the agent skills as a harness for courses. And on the back end of that, really looking at I'm thinking, is it a little bit of code that agents can use to tie that into Andamio so that we can issue credentials on the backside? And there's a bunch of questions around, should we make the wallet invisible and all this other kind of stuff? And could organizations sponsor those transactions so that people can just onboard onto their thing, or not? But maybe we'll just start simple And but I'd really love to explore how to do that. There's a lot of just practical hands-on use cases right now for Andamio internally. For compliance reasons, we need to have people take security and workplace culture and all sorts of different courses and prove that they've done it. And then we can point to Andamio and say, hey, look, compliance, it's done. We can verify all this and do that through agent skills, because we're all using some kind of form of agent in our day-to-day work. And it'd be nice to just say /HR compliance course or whatever and go through it and have the creds. So that's that's currently on my mind. So I intend to continue poking at that and seeing where that goes, but not in Q2 because that's not our focus. And I'll pass it over to Sebastian.
Hey, from my side, I'll be watching closely what the pioneers do with all this Andamio tooling, and I'll try to support and support the what could emerge from these sessions in this cohort. Yeah, and thanks for coming. Thanks for attending. Thanks for being part of this journey. It's a pretty nice journey with you guys, with you all. Yeah, thanks. Pass it to Ian.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months ahead, and as I'm building on Andamio, I will also be looking at how I can integrate various off-chain and on-chain components into dApps. Now, for instance, we have like single sign authorization with UTXOs. Maybe if I can also get like a plug and play liquidity provider, I can experiment with Andamio for issuing, like, because that's the greatest challenge when you're getting people who have never used crypto into crypto. If they ask you, how do I change from fiat to crypto? And normally the entire process is it's long and it's weird, because you tell them go to Coinbase, do KYC, they need to prove your residency, you need to send bills like utility bills and stuff like that. But if you can have like a liquidity provider who handles the KYC part of things, and when it comes to you, you're just like asking the user to connect. You could also, rather than also like build the templates, you could also have real world things working in Andamio. I will pass it to Pedro.
Hey guys, sorry I was late today.
Oh, hey, man.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say because I've been around. I haven't really used things that much. I was looking at the website right now and still getting familiar with things. On my side, that last week and this week, I've been working on something that I decided to build for Cardano, but that's not using Cardano. It's really just a simple endorsements landing page for the candidates for intersect committees. And it's been really interesting. The big enabler, the light bulb moment for me was like when I thought I could actually use the X API to authenticate people. And that way, no one really needs to authenticate or to create an account. So now the challenge will be, that project ends this week because the elections are ending. But out of that, maybe we could do a directory of apps and you endorse the apps on Cardano. There's a number of things that could be done. And so I'm very curious how Andamio could work with that. So that's my commitment. That's where I am. overall, just had like a 2-hour session on Web3, and the learners kept asking about like incentives to learn Cardano, like on Solana they have bounties or whatever, and you know, there's always someone that's paying for those bounties. So here, maybe with something like Andamio, the meritocracy side of things could be a motivation. Yeah, I'm not sure how to approach it, but I'll be around for sure.
Nice. Well, yeah, thanks guys for the ideas and for being here. Personally, the next 2 projects I want to work on in my time outside of direct Andamio work is, number 1, partnering up with Ian to build this directory of learning opportunities, because what I'm really interested in is the second order work of giving feedback on those learning resources and earning rewards for doing so. Everything we've been learning about keeping up a course, and then using that as a chance to have credential gated contribution opportunities and demonstrate, for example, what Lucas is talking about with bounties for work, right? We have the rails for all of that, but Diego's exactly right. Like, people just don't know that those are there and they're ready to be used. And we got to figure out how to tell people very efficiently the story of what's built here, because it's easy to take it for granted. And it's so new that people aren't going to get it at first. We know that already, right? And so we very quickly get stuck in the details when people aren't yet ready for those details. And these next few months are about building ways to get people interested in the first place. So excited about that education audit and tying that to the feedback work that's already happening with XP and coming out of Gimbal Labs. And then for my Piece of Pie hackathon entry, I want to use Andamio to build an app that allows people to do this. So there's an executive, I think she was at Google, named Claire Hughes Johnson, and she does this thing where she just writes a document whenever she starts leading a new team about how to work with Claire. And I think we should just have an app that allows people to do that, because it's a hell of a lot better than the social platforms we have right now. Send a high signal message to the world. Hey, here's who I am, what I'm working on, and how to work with me, right? And then allow people to respond to that and build up a credentialed connection for giving feedback on each other's work. I by no means need to build it alone. So if that's interesting to anybody, that's something I'll be doing for a Piece of Pie. And I'm definitely looking for teammates if anybody wants to play around with that. So be in touch. That wraps the first cohort of Pioneers. 10 weeks, probably more technical jargon than we want to have in the long term, but it's the first one, and really appreciate y'all for being here. Cohort 2 is coming. Our job is to start building towards it. And if you're interested in being part of that work, let's keep the conversations going. Looking forward to seeing everybody in the garage informally at weird hours for the next few months, and to getting together just to build stuff whenever we feel like it. Thanks, y'all. All right, be in touch. Thanks again.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, NFTs. Yeah, we can do something about that. But yeah.
Or an Andamio credential.
Yeah, exactly. I got something even better than an NFT, but I got to explain it. All right, y'all. Be good. Talk soon.
Bye, everyone.